When I was growing up, I would often watch television shows and movies that had a castle somewhere in the movie. Maybe it was a medieval movie, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a cartoon. And I remember it well, like the castle had bricks, really tall building, and the perimeter of the castle had what we call a moat, which is a body of water. So people couldn't just get in the castle. And the only way to get in fact, was for the drawbridge to be let down for you. So if I were coming to the castle, I would say, I want to come in, and somebody would say from the roof, who goes there? And I would say, Mike, and hopefully they would let me in. And if they didn't think I was a friend, they would not let the drawbridge down for me. However, enemies got clever, and they would create this thing called a Trojan horse, this giant horse, wooden horse, that looked really big and cute, and you can stuff many soldiers under it and hidden inside it, and they would bring the giant horse that looked really cute to the castle and get through the drawbridge, and then not realize it, but the soldiers, the enemy soldiers, would come out of the Trojan horse and attack people and invade the castle. Clearly, I have watched way too much TV and movies as a kid. But we're here to talk about your castle, and your castle is your mental wellness. And I want to ask you, what are you letting the drawbridge down for, and what are you keeping it up for? What I'm talking about is the thing called boundaries. And I gave you that castle analogy to stay in your mind as an image, because it's important to have boundaries. And sometimes we hear that word and we don't really understand what it means. But once I started thinking of it from the perspective of a castle, that changed everything. There are 3 areas where people really struggle with boundaries, really struggle, that cause them so much stress. One is social media. The second is cell phone usage. And the third is news consumption. I could go on for hours about these 3 things, but here's what I suggest. When it comes to your phone, I want you to think about how you go about using your cell phone. Yeah, think about that for a moment. And we don't actually think about it. We just kind of default to certain things. Case in point, after I'm done recording this video, I'm going to go over to my desk and upload it to the course so you can have it. Chances are, in between stopping the recorder and going to my desk, I'm probably going to pick up my cell phone just to check my messages to see if anyone reached out. And the challenge there is that I might see something that stresses me out a bit. Maybe I'll hear about a family member who's struggling, or maybe I might look at the news or social media real quick. But we do this all day. We as people do this all day. In fact, in New York City, I ride the train, the subway often, and we have this joke. We call it the iPhone prayer. You come on the subway and see people just, their heads down like they're praying, basically on their phones. And so this is a thing in our culture we don't even realize that we do. And it's important to put up boundaries unless you want everything coming through the drawbridge. Now, an example of how to get started doing that is notifications. Notifications. Beep, beep. I have friends where I hang out with them and all I hear is beep, beep, because they got a text message, or they got an email, or they got a social media message. Understand something, that when you've got notifications coming in like that, that will distract you from being present with people. And it can actually negatively affect your relationships, which can also affect your mental wellness. I make it a rule to have no notifications unless I need to know something. So let's say I'm waiting for a specific call or a specific email. I will have the notifications on temporarily just so I could get that information, and once that's done, it's back off. Really important habit to get into. Another one is bringing the cell phone into your bedroom at night, okay? Many people sleep right next to their cell phone. I've been guilty of that myself, and I'll be honest with you, and I did that last night. I actually was feeling a little nervous, and I slept next to my cell phone. And it's something that I have to work on too, because when I woke up, the first thing I did was look at my phone. And when you do that, you set yourself up for a stressful day if the first thing you do is look at your phone. So one of the habits that I'm working on, and I'm going to encourage you to work on, is to wait an hour after you wake up in the morning, before you start using your cell phone. It's a great way to get yourself settled, and then you can let the drawbridge down and let the cell phone stuff start coming in. The other thing is social media. I have a lot of friends who tell me that they don't like going on social media because such and such is always posting about blank, whatever it is, politics or this or that. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to social media, you don't have to follow certain people. In fact, you can unfollow them and unfriend them if you don't like what you're seeing. And I think it's important that you do that and take advantage of that, because there's no reason to go on social media and get stressed out. The other thing with social media that I think is important to realize is it's not real. It's not a real connection with someone. If you've got a relationship with someone, it's a great supplement, but it's not real. And we've come to start to treat social media as though it's real. I mean, all you're doing is texting into a screen. That's it. So it's really, really important that you get some good habits around social media and your cell phone so you can start protecting your castle. And then there's my favorite one, the news. So much to say about this. I had the honor of taking a workshop several years ago, a workshop for professional speakers on media exposure. How could we get ourselves into the news more? And it was an all-day workshop in New York City. And what was really cool is they actually brought in producers from some of the top news networks to teach us. And we learned so much. And one of the things that I kept hearing from different producers was that the news works really hard. Every news station works hard to get your attention, and they craft headlines in a way that get your attention. Let me say that again. They craft headlines in a way that get your attention. And oftentimes, because we're just defaulting to looking at our phone and social media, we see a headline and it stresses us out. It gets us emotional. Breaking news, everything is breaking news. It still is important, again, to be informed. I'm not saying don't look at the news, but understand what goes on to get the news out to you. That being said, I've been guilty of going on social media, seeing what a friend posts, and maybe it didn't even have a link to a news article or news video, and they just said something about current events, and I thought it was news. I took it as news, and I think all of us do that sometimes. So it's really important to put up boundaries around news. I actually have a download for you on healthy news consumption tips, and one of the things that you can do in there is take a moment to think and review and reflect before you share a news piece on social media. I mean, how many times does that cause stress? You share something in the news and then the comments come out. The other thing is figuring out what is fake news and what is real news, and actually there are some sites that can actually help you verify that so you can make sure what you're looking at is factually true. I really think that's really important to do. It's going to make you more informed, and it's going to make you less stressed. So I'd like you to think about those three things: your cell phone usage, your social media habits, and your news consumption. I mean, think about those as little soldiers coming in. Well, not little soldiers, but soldiers coming in, and the disguise is the Trojan Horse, and we just take it as, it's just coming through. It's just something I do, but it really affects your stress level. So it's really important that you take the power back and take control of your stress here. So I'm going to encourage you to download the Healthy Social Media Habits Checklist, the Healthy Cell Phone Habits Checklist, and the Healthy News Consumption Tips. And I'd like you to review those. In fact, I'd like you to make copies of those and share them with your friends and family, because everyone needs these habits here. And I'd like you to tell me below in a comment what you are going to start doing in the next 24 hours to make sure your castle is protected. What are you going to start closing the drawbridge on in your life?